Tibalt's been a part of Magic the Gathering for a while, but my god is he powerful in Kaldheim. Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles. My friends, today I am almost frenetic. It is the beginning of Kaldheim, like spoiler season, the real deal, headed by wizards, where we get all kinds of stuff flowing in. And my mind is just going crazy with hype right now. All the different things, I'm being pulled in a whole bunch of different directions by all the cool stuff that's happening with Kaldheim. They dropped a first chunk of the story where stuff is going crazy. They're bringing the Phyrexians in right away, and Tibalt's actually probably connected to that. We've got Snowlands to talk about, which seemed pretty obvious given some other things that we saw. But we also have this brand new Tibalt card, which is insanely cool. So, enough for the yammerins. Let's take a look at the card. Let's take a look at one side of the double-faced Tibalt. So, this is the front-facing side, Valki, God of Lies. So I guess right off from the bat, just from the name and everything, this is essentially supposed to be this world's Loki. So for anybody who is out there going, you know what, I think Tibalt is going to take the role of Loki in this Kaldheim set, you nailed it. 100% correct. That's what's going on here. So Valki is a non-Planeswalker side of a Planeswalker, which is a really funky concept, right? So we've got Valki, God of Lies, 1 black and 1 for a 2/1 legendary god creature. Now the gods on Kaldheim aren't indestructible. They are mortal gods, which sounds like a really weird concept, to be honest, but it's also very cool because it holds gods to a different standard. They can be wiped out, and thus it changes their existence as well, right? So, Valki, God of Lies, what does he do? When Valki enters the battlefield, each opponent reveals their hand. For each opponent, exile a creature card they revealed this way until Valki leaves the battlefield. Now, I pay more attention to this each opponent thing now that I am playing Commander, and I see how much of a difference it makes. So, when you start the game, even in a one-on-one game, this is going to be great. You're getting a 2/1 for 2 mana, which is a solid body when you have a good ability strapped onto it, right? You get to look at your opponent's entire hand, thus gaining information about their entire strategy, and you get to remove one of their creature cards. So whatever is going to be most effective for them later on, or you may want to pick something cheaper because he has another ability. Honestly, just having that ability would be sufficient enough to make this a really solid card. Not a mythic rare level card, but we do have the back end of it as well. So I strongly feel like if they didn't even add on the next ability we're about to talk about, this would still be a great card. But it also comes with the ability, pay X, choose a creature card exiled with Valki with converted mana cost X. Valki becomes a copy of that card. Note that it doesn't say until end of turn, right? This is just a copying effect. It's really weird because unlike a lot of other copying abilities, it's permanent. There's no coming back. It's almost like taking the actual form of that individual, right? Because they're exiled as well, so they're not going to be showing up. And it's cool that it can be legendary or regular creatures. So you can essentially take something that's really useful that your opponent has at the beginning, or if you just something that annoys you, you can go, that's a nice scoot mob. Why don't you put that over there? Why don't you put that over there? And you just be like, you know what? It's a scoot swarm. Scoot mob was the first one. I'm gonna change Valki. He's a scoot swarm now. How's that feel? How's that feel? You know, that's amazing. And it scales. If you're playing Commander, you get to look at everybody's hands, and everyone else has to show everybody else their hands as well, right? So everybody but you is showing their hands to everybody, which is probably going to make other people more of a target than you. Although I guess it could backfire if everybody reveals their hands and they don't really have anything that threatening. Then people might be like, But either way, that idea behind Valki, like the God of Lies, being able to scheme and turn people against each other, that's cool. Being able to assume the identity of people, like, that's a full lie, right? There's lies where it's like, oh, I said a lie. And then there's lies where I'm living a lie. And Valki literally lives lies. His whole existence is a lie, because Valki isn't even a real thing. It's literally Tibalt masquerading as the God of Lies, which is so cool. And the artwork is awesome, right? You've got this dark, cold feel, which feels appropriate for Kaldheim. And you've got him kind of hunched forward, his hands extended, glowing with mystical runes that are actually even starting to glow outwards on his chest as well. He's got the animal furs and the big metal shoulder plates as well. It's got a nice kind of tribal feel. And there's these what looks like coins all like spread across his hood and running down along him, right? And the part of the reason that I'm going over all this, talking about the cold aspect of the art, is I just want you to see the difference when we switch over to Tibalt art-wise and how it has a really different feel. Notice the pose of Valki like this. It's like he's leaning forwards, like he's going to whisper in your ear. He has some secrets. His face is somewhat shrouded, and notice the color. Notice the color of his skin. It's blue and pallid, similar to the background, right? Now, let's flip it over. Let's take a look at Tibalt Cosmic Impostor. First of all, Cosmic Impostor is such a cool term. I really like that concept. And he's pretending to be a god. It's so cool, man. You only see this kind of thing rarely. They did it with Xenagos back in the Theros block, where they're like, Xenagos strove to become a god, although he wanted to be a god in reality, right? For me, I think my favorite story of like pretending to be a god, not really originally a god, but becoming a god, was Rastlin from the Dragonlance novels, where he essentially goes on, he makes himself a god, and then he goes on to challenge and defeat all the other gods, which is just an absolutely incredible story. He feels broken and betrayed by the gods, and so he casts them all down. That's epic, and Tibalt is operating on an epic level here. I have to admit, up until now, I never really cared that much about Tibalt. I thought he got somewhat of a raw deal because the flavor behind Tibalt is really cool. Tibalt was a messed up, and still is, a messed up individual who genuinely liked to hurt people. Like, he was all about that. And he attracted the attention of all these little, like, minor demon devils that would come and basically trade knowledge for more depravity from him, where it's like, we're going to help educate you and teach you things, but really we're here to push you further and further down this dark path, which Tibalt happily walked. But Tibalt was originally a human being. When the townsfolk basically found out what Tibalt was up to, they all turned on him, right? And in the moment of all that happening, that's when Tibalt's spark ignited. He basically fused with these devils and became a half-human, half-devil planeswalker who basically feeds off the pain of others. So now not only enjoying it, but actually it almost like nourishes his spirit, which is insane. So now he's here trying to feed that. He just wants to cause problems for people because he enjoys suffering. That's why he's on Kaldheim, right? Oh, it's crazy. So 1 red, 1 black, and 5 for a 5 loyalty planeswalker. Now what's nutty is Tibalt does something that's never been done before the planeswalker, and that is he's just giving you an emblem as soon as he shows up. Normally, you have to ultimate to get the emblem, right? But in this case, you're getting the emblem first, which actually works really well with the ultimate ability. So, as Tibalt enters the battlefield, you get an emblem with, you may play cards exiled with Tibalt Cosmic Impostor, and you may spend mana as though it were a mana of any color to cast those spells. And the first ability is +2, exile the top card of each player's library. So you're going to get at least 2 cards to have access to. The second ability is -3, exile target artifact or creature. And the third ability is -8, exile all cards from all graveyards, add 3 red mana. So every one of these abilities ties into the emblem in a really great way. You can boost up his loyalty by snagging whatever's coming next, which can be even more useful considering there's like a whole load of scry cards in this set too. You can take their best artifact or creature with his second ability, and not only is it exiled, it's accessible to you. And if they get rid of Tibalt, the emblem is still there. You get the emblem as soon as you put Tibalt out, right? So you already have the emblem. Even if they destroy Tibalt, you still have access to all the cards that were exiled by him. There's nothing anybody can do about that. There's no way to get rid of the emblem unless you can like make Karn reset the game, right? So the emblems are going to stick around, and he's just going to be like, yep, you can use all this stuff. And if you put out another Tibalt it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter which Tibalt it came from. It's weird because you're going to end up with like multiple emblems. Like when you put out the second Tibalt, it's going to give you another emblem that's pretty much irrelevant because one emblem is all that you need to make this work, right? Like the one emblem will count cards from every single iteration of Tibalt. So you've got the -3 where you exile the biggest problem that you're facing, which you can use as soon as you cast him, which is fair because he costs 7 mana. Let's be real. 7 mana is an insane amount of mana, but his abilities are crazy. And the fact of the matter is yes, he's super expensive on his Planeswalker side, but you can just play him as the Valki side if you have him earlier. And you can have Valki and Tibalt out at the same time. There's no rule against that, right? Like it's literally Valki and Tibalt. Even though it's Tibalt pretending to be Valki, you can literally have them both out at the same time with the rules of Magic. Now, the ultimate ability, exile all cards from graveyards, add 3 mana. Boom, every spell you've used, every spell your opponent's used that's not still on the table, they're all accessible to you, and you're given 3 red mana. The color doesn't matter because Tibalt's emblem lets you use your mana as if it was any color, which means you can literally cast anything. The flavor behind this is awesome. So, remember when I said on Valki's side how he's leaning forwards, he's got the blue pallid skin? Take a look at this. You can see he's wearing the same kind of outfit, right? It's like basically this is the moment where he's revealed himself, right? This is that like moment in the movie or whatever where the villain who's all been like hooded in the shadows or whatever is just like, it was me all along. That's the moment we're having right here where Tibalt's like, yes, suffer. Oh, I delight in this. I have totally hosed you all. I love it. It's just like, look at the gigantic grin on Tibalt's face. He's having the time of his life, right? Like this is just making it for him. I love it. I love the idea that he's able to hide as Valki, and people think that he's a god because he's a planeswalker. So he has the powers, honestly, that exceed a god. But the question is, what has Tibalt been up to? What has Tibalt been doing as Valki? Because we only have a little bit of the story revealed to us so far. Wizards has dropped the first story chunk. I'm going to be making a lore video for Fantasy Geographic specifically covering the story because this is amazing. So there will be a lore video coming out. If everything goes well, it'll come out today. If not, it'll be out tomorrow where we're going to go over the story. And I think, honestly, probably what's going on is Tibalt is responsible for the Phyrexians being able to access Kaldheim. Now, I could be 100% wrong about that, but bear in mind, we've already seen one of the gods, the white god, and he is a flip card as well. On one side of him, there is a sword, and that sword is supposed to be able to cut through basically the boundary between realms so that you can travel from world to world, right? Like the Viking lore and all that in the real world has something like a rainbow frost bridge or something like that spans between worlds that can be used by people. So it's kind of a similar concept. You have multiple beings, it seems like, that have the ability to travel between worlds. But it seems like this sword is going to be tied into how the Phyrexians made it to Kaldheim. Because, oh, dude, the story, I read that little chunk, and there's something in there, I don't want to spoil it because I want to leave it for the story, but there's something in there that switched my mind. Originally, I thought that how the Phyrexians were making their way to Kaldheim was that the Phyrexians on New Phyrexia had developed, finally, planar portal technology like the earlier Phyrexians had, right? That's how Phyrexians managed to invade different worlds. But when dealing with Vorinclex on Kaldheim, the way things go down in the story, it actually appears like it might be some other kind of influence. Because it's not 100% explained, I am leaning towards it being something like Loki got his hands on the god sword and is using it to wreak havoc, maybe by lying to Halvar, the god who owns it. Either way, there's so much potential with this story. And right away, in the first bit of the story, Wizards made the right choice. We've got planeswalkers, we've got gods, we've got Phyrexian praetors, all mashed together into a story that, as I was reading it, I just started going, oh, this is awesome. Like we're so, it feels like we're so far away from that time frame where, like with Theros and Ikoria, where the story was really getting shoved to the back seat. it feels like the story is being pushed forwards to the point where one of the characters, Arnie Brokenbrow, literally has Wizards commissioned a song to be written about him, and I've only heard 30 seconds of it, but it sounds awesome. So I have to admit, guys, I am like super stoked right now about Kaldheim. Anyway, I gotta go and work on recording a lore video for Fantasy Geographic. I just put out a new lore video there yesterday. Link up on the screen. Yeah, that's right. Link up on the screen. All that's left to do is roll the Patreon scroll. These are my favorite people in the whole world. Thank you for supporting my channel. I will see you all tomorrow.